Good evening, and this is another installment of Legislative Update. My name is Peter Tassi, and with me is Representative Robert DeLeo, Speaker of the House. How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing great, Peter. It's a nice summer evening.
Oh, it's been really warm.
Yeah, it has.
There's no question.
But just think about the last winter, and you won't feel so bad.
I rather the winter. It's cooler and more comfortable. I'm odd in that respect.
Yeah.
Bob, let's start off with something that is new to the state.
Yeah.
The casino bill was passed 2 years ago in that area.
Yeah.
We finally have a casino.
Well, we have a slots parlor.
It's, quote, the start of a casino, let's just say it that way.
Right.
But it's putting that particular bill into action.
Right.
What is the, now this is approximately 2 weeks it's been open, if I remember correctly.
Where am I here? Probably about that.
In that
yeah.
general area.
Yeah, maybe 3, yeah.
Yeah, I think it opened up on a Wednesday, and from what I heard, the
Late June.
crowds were unbelievable.
Yeah.
People couldn't get in fast enough.
Right.
How has the state benefited?
About $3 million worth
Already?
already, yeah. And again, that's just a slots parlor, not even a full casino.
And it's not even been a month.
And it hasn't even been a month, yeah. So, you know, they had a great first week, obviously, by those statistics, and it shows that people want to gamble in Massachusetts. So we were very, you know, when I got the call, they said, which won't let you know how successful things were in the first week. The Gaming Commission had let me know, and I said, wow. I said, I didn't expect it to be that successful, but, you know, it was. So that was good news. It shows that, again, that Massachusetts, I think, is a good place for, you know, for expanded gaming. And I'm hopeful that once the other facilities get up, that we'll be doing even better.
Now, so far, Everett's been awarded one, Springfield's been awarded one, and in the New Bedford area, has that been a decision yet?
No. And I apologize, it's New Bedford. I'm not sure if
Well, in that general
I'm
area.
not sure if Taunton is still in it. I don't know if Fall River is, Lakeville. I apologize, I'm not sure. Because there have been some that have come and haven't. I believe that the front runner now is New Bedford, if I'm correct.
Okay,
But nothing has been awarded yet.
so far, like I say, within that 3 plus or minus weeks.
And by the way, they don't have to. At the end of the day, you know, we put up to. That doesn't mean that if they feel that 1 is sufficient, they can just do 1. We gave them the ability to do up to 3, but they don't have to do all 3 if they see.
So the 2
fit.
that have been awarded could be the end of it.
Could be the end of it. I'm not saying it is. I don't have any information, but I just want people to understand that if they find that the market is such that it's saturated with just those, with the slot parlor and those 2, the commission can say no. We don't need to go any further than this.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah.
Let's go to a subject that will affect everyone in Massachusetts, and that hopefully will happen in August. It's the sales tax free weekend.
Right.
How far has that gone?
As we're speaking now, I've just spoken to the chairman of the committee that has the bill, and I asked today that he release the bill, and hopefully within less than 10 days we're going to have a vote on it. It will be passed, and hopefully the Senate will do the same, and it'll be on the governor's desk, I'd say, before we break in July. And I'm hopeful the governor will sign it. So somewhere around the second week of August, I think it usually is.
Second, third week.
I don't know if it's the 14th and 15th, 16th, something in that general vicinity.
So it's a good possibility that it'll
So
continue
yeah,
this year.
I would say it's a good possibility.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is something which we have done now for a number of years, and again, I think it's important, especially for some of the smaller, you know, stores that we have, especially in, you know, like in Winthrop and Revere, of some of the businesses that are looking for that extra boost. hopefully this gives it to them, and also gives the consumer the ability to save some money on some of the goods, especially as the kids are getting ready to go back to school, which is funny to have to say that, but I suppose once this goes on, it's only going to be about 2 or 3 weeks away. So
I heard something, or I read something, that someone is hoping to put a sales tax on candy. Did you hear that?
Governor Patrick always spoke about trying to do that. I know Governor Baker hasn't done that, so I haven't heard that
I read it
in a
somewhere.
while. I think there has always been, I know that was raised in New York before. Basically, what they're saying is they see that as a means, hopefully, of trying to help the issue of child obesity.
I think that was
childhood
the issue.
obesity.
Correct.
But not here in Massachusetts.
Now,
That, and I think they're also talking about soda and things like that.
that's correct. I did hear about soda.
Or the sugar soda as opposed to the diet, I guess. Whatever.
Fiscal year 2016, the budget has been passed.
Yep, we're just waiting for the governor's signature. Talking to him. Matter of fact, just today he seems to be very pleased with the budget, and so we're just waiting for him to sign, which we expect him to do later on this week. I'm sure he's going to have some vetoes, but to be honest with you, I don't think it's going to be as plentiful as they have sometimes could be. I think he's really pleased with this budget, especially what we did relative to transportation reform, the earned income tax credit, that helps the lower wage earners. So I think he's fairly pleased.
Now, speaking of the transportation bill or reform, whatever you want to call it, what actually does it consist of?
Well, one of the matters that I was most concerned about, and the governor was most concerned about, and the Senate president was most concerned about, was the fact, obviously, of last winter. I think, yes, it's true that, when you have that much snow and that much cold, it's hard to gauge what type of problems you're going to have. Unfortunately for us, I think it showed some of the weaknesses that we have in the system, maybe that we just didn't see. And because of that, I felt that we had to do something a lot stronger on our T budget in particular, to give the governor more of the tools so that he can bring some controls over the T, and that hopefully with that we can stop stop the disaster that occurred last year. So in particular, what we had placed in the budget was called the control board. And they'll be consisting of people who have different expertise in the transportation field, who will report to the Secretary of Transportation. In addition to that, we suspended what was called the Pacheco Law, which allows the governor to have more control in terms of awarding contracts. Meaning, if he can find something which is quicker and cheaper, he can move ahead, in a lot easier fashion. But those were really two of the major items that we had given the governor. And having said that, we still have the legislation which he have filed, which is in our Ways and Means Committee. But we feel that right now, with those two major items of control that he has, that this at least gives him the ability to begin the process of trying to righting the ship of the T.
One thing I know for a fact is the T has been purchasing vehicles, whether it's light rail or light rail primarily, and also trains, I should say, from abroad rather than U.S. Now, is it because it's cheaper abroad, or is it better quality? But they've had more problems, I know for a fact.
Yeah, one of the things that we had we had put in our legislation was that when the T put out a bid for a contract, the bidder, if they were awarded the bid, had to come to Massachusetts, and they have to be located in a high unemployment rate area. And they can put together the trains, and so we're very excited, about that. But it was a Chinese firm, I believe it was Chinese, that came to Springfield, to build the trains. So that will really help our economy here in Massachusetts, in an area which is very
Depressed, if you want to call it that.
well, high unemployment rate, and so they can use that.
So what you're saying basically is the parts may be made in China, we'll use that, but put together here?
Right.
No, so that actually helps the workforce, no question.
Right, exactly.
All righty. Now, there's senior citizen, or senior center, I believe, funding that is in the new budget.
Part of the funding was there was some work that had to be done at the Revere Senior Center that has some funding. In addition to that, as we have in the past, we put in funding for what's called the child safety grants in both communities, which have been in Revere, used for things such as playgrounds and whatnot. And in Winthrop, I believe it's used by the police department to provide safety, security to the schools. In addition to that, $25,000 is provided to each of the Winthrop and Revere Chambers of Commerce, so they can do what they have to do to try to bring in additional businesses into Revere or Winthrop. So this would help out. So there are some things to help out. In addition to that, there's money for the police patrols at the Winthrop and Revere beaches. And finally, there is I believe there's also money for the CAPIC and the Beaches Commission. I think there's $1 million for the Beaches Commission.
CAPIC, so people who don't understand what CAPIC is.
They provide anywhere from heating assistance to housing. They help, a lot of the those less fortunate than us, put it that way, in the Winthrop, Revere, Chelsea area.
All right. Now, there's a couple of things going on. There's going to be sand sculptures, again, at Revere Beach, and I think it's the end of July.
July, yeah. Right.
So I hear you're going to be down there. You're going to be judging it?
Well, no, I don't want to be any judge. I wouldn't even know what to do. But what I will say this, John Hamill, who's taken over as the chair of that now, I want to say for 3 or 4 years now, has done a spectacular job. I mean, just to see these sculptures it's unbelievable. And what's really amazing is they're getting them from all across the United States, and even outside the United States, people are coming here to compete to win some prize money. And I'm sure that they must have like a circuit that they
do
go around.
They do. The only reason I say that is I remember seeing that there's another sand sculpturing some other area, either the week before, 2 weeks before, or a week after, whatever the case is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, no, I hadn't seen that. And so it always, I'll tell you, every year they seem to increase in numbers, and thousands and thousands of people who come from all over, to look at the sculptures. And obviously they have some food there. I think they've also have brought in some kiddie rides and stuff like that, and different other people have some exhibits, some businesses and whatnot. So as long as the weather's good, it's it's quite a weekend. And I have to tell you, I'm always amazed as to how they're able to do that. I guess they have a little bit of, what do you put, water in the sand or something that makes
Well, it's a
it
different
harder.
type of sand. It's not the sand you find at the beach.
Right.
It's a
that's what I'm
specific type of
saying.
sand.
And it makes it with water.
I would think so. This is what I was told one
Okay,
time.
okay, I thought you knew something
no,
about it.
no.
But
Other-
what I see what they're able to create, it's just unbelievable. I think was it after the Red Sox won the World Series? They had some sculpture, I think, about Fenway Park and and whatnot. And I forget what the theme is this year, but it's quite a thing. And also, I think that no, I don't think it's the weekend maybe the same weekend of I think it's the same weekend. You also have the Winter Day at the Beach.
Yeah, Ural
as
Beach, I
well,
was gonna
Ural
say
Beach,
that.
which is also a great event where there's put on by the Chamber of Commerce. And what's wonderful is all the people who participate, so many of the businesses, who donate something, and there's all of these events such as I remember seeing ones who could stay in the hula hoop the longest and whatnot, and they have some of those water type slides there, and it's quite a thing. And it's amazing to see the number of families who go out onto Ural Beach and enjoy it. They have a disc jockey dancing. It's a great event that keeps the community together.
Now that the budget is basically completed, both in the Senate and the House, what's next for the legislature?
Well, I think we're going to have a couple of things. I think first of all, we'll have the, again, like I mentioned, the sales tax holiday. In addition to that, the governor is going to be putting out what's called a supplemental budget, which will probably address some of the present deficiencies that there are right now in our budget. I think that will be another thing that we will take up before August 1st. And finally, I think I'm looking at other couple of pieces of legislation, which I think we're going to do. So I don't want to announce it just yet, but I'm hopeful that we're going to try to get a couple of other things done.
Now, fiscal 2015 ended, of course, the end of June. As for the amount of money collected by the state,
I think we're going to, haven't seen it yet. I think basically you're going to see we're probably going to exceed our
expectations?
expectations. It's been a fascinating year. We had started off strong, then didn't do too well. We saw both Governor Patrick and Governor Baker have to make cuts to the budget, if you remember. And but now I think we're going to end
With a surplus?
and I think with a surplus. Yep.
So that'll basically
I
be
think.
put into a rainy fund?
Either rainy day
fund?
fund or maybe some of the things that had to be cut earlier. We can take a look at that. Maybe see that that money can be appropriated for that.
Now, this is
Some of those things.
This is a little difficult because we've never had this experience. I've always had so much subject matter, and I'm a loss for words. I don't know what to say.
Talk about the Olympics.
That's another thing, right?
Yeah, which I'm very used to. I can't believe we went through all the topics you had.
Well,
That's very odd.
I know. Well, we went fast, a lot faster than I thought.
What's also fascinating, I think that's one of the major issues.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you right now. In fact, I was joking with the governor and Senate president today when we meet on Mondays, and I said, what would a Monday be without talking about the Olympics? And so we had a little bit of a discussion there. I can tell you from my perspective, and I think it's pretty well known, that as the first thought of the Olympics came up, I immediately said actually that my major concern would be the use of taxpayer funding for the Olympics. And that's where I would have the problem, that I didn't want to see any taxpayer money go towards the Olympics. And my basic thought was, when you have something like that, and the closer you get to the events, and they find that, they may be a little bit short here or there, to see it go forward, I just don't want to see the taxpayer be responsible for, billion, 2 billion, whatever it may be, amount of money. So we're still waiting to review some of the facts and figures there to see if it actually can work. The other issue I had was I felt that some of the events should be included outside of the city of Boston. The original thought was, I think, pretty much to hold everything in the Boston-Cambridge area. To have it a so-called walkable Olympics. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to walk from one event to the other, but probably with a little short train ride, you'll be okay. But my feeling was that this would give us the opportunity to see events somewhat throughout the Commonwealth, for instance, so that places that are facing high unemployment rates, such as, like we talked earlier, the Springfield and the Berkshire area, the Pittsfields, the New Bedfords, Fall River, Lawrence, and stuff like that, maybe we could boost their economy. And at first that wasn't in their plans, but now I see that it is within their plans.
Well, they had certain stipulations, like rowing, for example, couldn't be on the Charles.
That's right.
So I said, why? And they said, because they do not want bridges. That's
Yeah.
the reason. So it could not be on the Charles because
That's
of
right.
the bridges.
Right.
It has to be an open site,
Yeah, so now they believe Lowell is...
wherever it is. But the point is, that's why
Right.
the
I
Charles
said
couldn't be
Lowell,
used.
or was it the other way? I can't remember. And finally, I was concerned about some of the facilities that would be used. I mean, I don't want to see us spend a whole lot of money on a facility if it's just going to be torn down after, wasting our money. So as long as we had a situation where, again, taxpayers' money wasn't going to be used, I know they have some of these so-called temporary facilities that are taken down after the event. So that's another thing that they're looking into. But I will tell you, Peter, this has been for me anyways, to sort of be involved and see how it's run and whatnot has been a fascinating experience, such that we hired a consultant in the state to help us with some of the, to interpret for us, I should say, especially the figures here. You really have to know someone who knows something about Olympics and can say, yeah, this is what this is going to cost, and this is what you can make up for it in ticket sales. So this is how much the Olympic Village is going to cost, where the athletes will live. So that type of stuff has been very helpful. We hired someone to look at that, and I think by the end of this month or early next, they're going to come up with their report to us. So
There's a couple of things, like the infrastructure, MBTA, the roads. Those are problems now. What are they going to be like in 2024?
well, I think what they said, and we have provided already some bond money for some of the T and for some of the roads and the bridges. So what I think they're saying is that if you fix these roads and bridges for the Olympics, then we're going to have some more, we're going to get the benefit of it as well over the long term if you have those infrastructure improvements. The question is, the improvements that we have accounted for sufficient for the Olympics? One of the other things that was raised was to the housing of the athletes. There's been a discussion, for instance, for it to go around the UMass Boston area. UMass Boston is trying to attract students to live in dormitories. So what they're talking about is maybe possibly those could be used for that thereafter. Or if not, maybe those rooms or those apartments could be used for low and moderate income housing. As you know or have heard, we're severely in need of low and moderate income housing in the Commonwealth, and this may give us that chance to do that. But I think we're a ways off in terms of trying to bring this thing to fruition. I just haven't been convinced yet that we can do it within the budget that people are talking about.
You were saying about a facility that would be used for the Olympics and basically that. I think it was England, London, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on the exact location, but a velodrome.
Right,
People who don't know what a velodrome is, that's for cycling.
right.
It's only used for that event or that particular period of time for the events.
And I think that's one thing
And it
that
hasn't
we
been used
need.
since.
Right,
I mean,
right. And do you remember, oh gosh, was it China that had the so-called nest? It looked like a nest from
Oh,
the
the
outside.
stadium?
The stadium.
yeah.
And then they never to be used again, that it was torn down. That's precisely what I'm talking about,
Yeah, but see, you won't know until, like you say, you have a person investigating this
you know.
and to see if it's feasible to use for something else.
Right,
But,
right.
you know, you don't want to just spend the money for nothing.
Right. And Boston, to its credit, you know, with all our colleges and universities, you know, we do have a number of places that, you know, in those schools that would be good sites for some various events. But the biggest thing is, I think we would have to have what they call that temporary stadium, from which, you know, we would have to build before the Olympics could start.
What gets me is I heard that, I've seen the drawings or the artist renditions, and it says a temporary stadium that will be torn down after the events,
Right, which
doesn't make sense. I hate to say it.
and that's the way it's meant to be. Apparently, that the way they build it, it can be a little more easily turned down than if you were trying to, I guess, destroy, you know, Harvard Stadium or, you know, something like that.
But why build something if you're going to take it down a week after the Olympics, say?
Yeah, you see, they have certain requirements, obviously,
Yeah.
that's needed in places like our football state, like Harvard, BC. I'm trying to think of those are
Even-
the two major stadiums.
Even Gillette.
Even Gillette. I don't think that they are big enough for what they need. It has to be built a certain way for the athletes to come in, and
Oh, yeah.
you know, and things like that. So there are certain types of
Opening and closing
requirements.
of the games and so forth. They have
Right.
to be a certain size. But it
Certain
seems, it
size.
seems like just a lot of money being spent for nothing. you
Well,
know?
that's and that's what we're trying to find out. I mean, the good part was that to be chosen as the city to represent the United States in terms of making an application. I mean,
That's a major accomplishment.
that's nice to see a group of individuals who had bids in from all over the United States, who said, you know, Boston would be a great place for it, you know, for a number of reasons, you know, whether it's public safety factor, whether it's transportation factor, whatever it may be. So just the fact that they looked at Boston as a good site, I think, is a great opportunity for the city, and you know, and just a testament to some of the good things that are actually happening here. And sometimes you know, we're so close to it, we don't realize it takes outside folks to come in and say, "Wow, you do a good job here and there," and so it's a fascinating process.
Months and months ago, we were talking about the condition of the bridges, especially around here, or I should say throughout the state. Let's just say it that way. They're working on Route 16 right now on one of the bridges. Do you foresee more work being done in the local area? Or is it planned?
I'm not sure in terms of, I can tell you as we're speaking, obviously the Winthrop Bridge was it last year or the year before, was completed. Revere has a bridge, you know, going from the, on the Revere Beach Parkway, I think it is, that's being worked on right now. So you will always see throughout the state now a number of bridges and roads that are being built or rebuilt. I think that with some of the issues that we've had, relative to public safety with some of these facilities. We're catching up on some of these repairs, which probably should have been done before.
Bob, we have about 30 seconds, give or take. Why don't we end the show like you normally do?
Yep,
Give the
and
information to the people.
I thank you for the opportunity to come in tonight and give everyone a little update in terms of what's going on to the State House, and just tell the folks out there who may be watching to please, if you have any questions, any issues, don't hesitate to give my office a call at 617-722-2500. That's 617-722-2500.
Bob, thank you. And
Thank you
again,
very much,
we'll
Peter.
see you
It's
next
great
month.
to have you.
Thank you for watching us, and again, we'll see you next month.